Hello friends, welcome back to this series of continuous education on autism. In our last video, we saw how and why does a child flap his hands. Most of the cases, in 90% of cases with autism, a child has got one of the senses which is either hyperstimulated or a hypostimulated. The senses is either overstimulated or understimulated. So in a child, when a particular senses is overstimulated, the child tries to avoid that senses and tries to overcome that senses by seeking an avoidance behavior. The child will avoid this senses and it is called as an avoidance behavior. Whereas if a particular senses is hypostimulated, then the child will try to seek more stimulus of that particular sense and the child will have a seeker behaviors. So we see two types of behavior in a child, an avoidance behavior or a seeker behavior. So now coming back to these senses of auditory, if a child is having an auditory senses which is hyperstimulated, then the child will have an avoidance behavior. How that is seen practically is that in a children whose auditory senses are hyperstimulated, then the smallest amount of noise, like a noise of a cooker, a noise of a toilet flush, a noise of a horn of a vehicle, a noise of a dog barking, creates an hyperstimulated senses, and then the child tries to avoid that hyperstimulation by closing his ears. This is called as an auditory avoidance behavior, where the child closes his ear, and which is quite common that the child get irritated when he sees slightest amount of noise in his environment. Exactly opposite is the seeker behavior. What happens in the seeker behavior is that the senses are hypostimulated. Once the senses are hypostimulated, the child tries to seek those senses. So in case of an auditory hypostimulated senses, the child tries to seek noise. So these are the children who are happy when there is a lot of noise. If there is a loud DJ going outside, if the loudspeaker noise is too loud, the child is happy and he will try to go more near the loudspeaker and try to enjoy the noise. These kind of children will always try to make some or the other noise, like tapping on the table, like making some or the other noise by making noise with various toys, and they are happy to seek the noise. So in auditory, when we have an avoidance behavior, the child avoids noise, and we have in the seeker behavior, the child tries to seek noise. So this is how various symptoms, various repetitive symptoms in autism can be explained because of the variation in the senses. We talked of auditory senses in this video. In next video, we'll be talking of the vestibular and the proprioception senses. Keep watching this video and subscribe to our channel to know more about autism. Thank you.